Hello, today I'm looking at Majjhima number 121, which is entitled the CulaSunnata Sutta, which is translated as the shorter discourse on voidness or emptiness. Now, I found this a quite important chapter, sort of a realization for my practice of Buddhism, and sort of to me vindicates the time spent reading the Pali Canon to come across things like this. So the location is Savatthi in the eastern park at the palace of Megara's mother, and the persons mentioned are Buddha, or the Blessed One, and the Venerable Ananda. So it starts with Ananda asking Buddha a question about a remark that Buddha made when living in Nagaraki in Sakyan country. And Buddha remembers that Buddha said that he often abided in voidness or emptiness. So the word actually uses sunnata vihara. So sunnata, I think, can be translated as voidness or emptiness. So Buddha confirms that he often abides in emptiness or voidness. And then he describes this. Just as this palace of Nigara's mother is empty of elephants, cattle, horses, empty of gold and silver, empty of assemblies of ordinary men and women, and where there is only this non-emptiness, a singleness based on the assembly of monks. So, a monk not attending to the perception of a village, not attending to the perception of human beings, attends to the singleness based on the perception of wilderness. His mind takes pleasure, finds satisfaction, settles and indulges in its perception of wilderness. He understands thus: whatever mental disturbances there might be caused by perception of a village, by the perception of ordinary people, they are not present here. There is only one small amount of disturbance, the perception of wilderness. So I've marked the next bit as the key sentence. Thus, he regards it as empty of what is not there. But as to what remains, he understands thus: this is present. Thus, Ananda, this is the genuine, undistorted, pure progression or descent into voidness or emptiness. Buddha then takes it to another level. So, the monk not attending to the perception of people, not attending to the perception of wilderness, attends to the singleness dependent on the perception of earth. His mind enters the perception upon the perception of earth, acquires steadiness, confidence and resolution. And again, another aside. So in the footnotes, there's a reference to the Majjhima Nikaya Atthakatha, which I understand is a commentary on the Pali Canon written at the time that the Pali Canon was transcribed. Now, in this footnote, the meditation on earth is described as one of the kasinas, and the kasinas, they're a physical object that can be used to focus attention. And once this attention is attained, inwardly, it becomes what's known as a counterpart sign, an internal image, which leads on to further mental focus concentration. So back to the text, Buddha gives an analogy. But just as a bull's hide, leather, becomes free from folds when fully stretched with 100 pegs, so too a monk, not paying any attention to ridges and hollows, rivers, mountains, uneven places, he attends to the singleness dependent on the perception of earth. His mind enters into that perception of earth, acquires confidence, steadiness, and resolution. He understands thus: this field of perception is void of the perception of people, void of the perception of wilderness. There is only this non-emptiness, this singleness dependent on the perception of earth. Thus, Ananda, this too is his genuine, undistorted, pure descent into voidness or emptiness. Then, Ananda, not attending to perception of wilderness, not attending to perception of earth, he attends to the singleness dependent on the perception of the base of infinite space. So here, the internal mental image of the casino or earth is replaced by infinite space. Buddha continues, so whatever disturbances there might be, dependent on the perception of wilderness, dependent on the perception of earth, they are not here, they are gone. The only small amount of disturbance that is present is the singleness dependent on the perception of the base of infinite space. Thus he regards it as empty or void of what is not there. But as to what remains, he understands this thus: this is present. This too, Ananda, is his genuine, undistorted, pure progression into voidness. So again, to me, this reminds me of like you go for a walk into a pine forest, where it's all sheltered and still, and the mind or the attention is suddenly taken by that stillness. So there's no wind, no animal sounds, no birds. So my attention unwittingly is drawn to what is not there. So that's quite a strange feeling. Anyway, again, Ananda, Buddha continues, a monk not attending to the perception of earth, not attending to the base of infinite space, attends to the singleness dependent on the base of infinite consciousness, and there acquires confidence, steadiness, and resolution. He understands thus: whatever disturbance there might be dependent on earth, they are not present here. Whatever disturbance there might be dependent on the perception of the base of infinite space, they are not present here. There is only present this small amount of disturbance, namely the singleness dependent on the perception of the base of infinite consciousness. This too is his genuine, undistorted, pure progression into voidness or emptiness. So the sutta then defines the next step, the progression to the singleness of mind dependent on the perception of the base of nothingness. So whatever previous distractions there were, the base of infinite space, the base of infinite consciousness, they are not there. There is only this here, the perception of the base of nothingness. Thus, Ananda, to this too is his genuine, undistorted, pure progression into voidness or emptiness. So again, this then repeats to the progression of the next step, which is the perception of the perception based on neither perception nor non-perception. So again, abbreviating the full description, the monk then progresses to the singleness dependent on the singleness of concentration of mind. So it's moved on to concentration of mind. Here, there is only present this amount of disturbance, namely that connected with the 6 bases that are dependent on this body and conditioned by life. So that's touch, taste, smell, hearing, sight, and mental interpretation is how I understand that. So the mind is empty apart from receiving inputs from the body senses. So that's sort of quite interesting, a revelation. You sort of read in certain tracts about sort of monks sitting there forever without being disturbed while ants walk over them and such like. And yet, according to this, the point of concentration is just that, is the 6 bases that are dependent on the body and conditioned by life. So they are aware, or these monks who are in deep meditation are aware, but that's just part of the meditation process. So Buddha goes on, thus he regards it as void of what is not there, but as to what is present, he understands what is present thus. This is present. Thus, Ananda, this too is his genuine, undistorted, pure progression into voidness. So again, the thing that comes to mind there is the Pali phrase atamayata. Now there is no that. So something arises, the physical sense arises and then just disappears or fades away. So there's no precedent, no consequence. So again, Buddha continues, his mind enters the signless concentration of mind. So yes, so I thought signless meaning something arises, something departs. There's no perceived reason. It's signless. S-I-G-N-L-E-S-S, signless. So here, acquiring confidence, steadiness and resolution. He understands thus, this signless concentration of mind is conditioned and volitionally produced. Right. But whatever is conditioned and volitionally produced is impermanent and subject to cessation. So it arises, it goes away. When he knows and sees this is the monk, his mind is liberated from the taint of sensual desire, from the taint of being, from the taint of ignorance. He understands birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived. What has to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. So the cycle of unending lives is broken. He realizes thus, there is present only this disturbance, namely that connected with the 6 bases that are dependent on this body and conditioned by life. He realizes thus, this field of perception is void of the taint of sensual desire, void of the taint of being, void of the taint of ignorance. Thus, Ananda, this is his genuine, undistorted, pure progression into voidness or emptiness, supreme and unsurpassed. Therefore, Ananda, you should train thus. We will enter upon and abide in pure, supreme, unsurpassed voidness or emptiness. This is what the Blessed One said, and the Venerable Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words, and so am I. So that's the end of Majjhima Nikaya number, I think I've written the wrong number down, I think it's 120. Excuse me a second. 121. I'll try again. This is the end of Majjhima Nikaya number 121, the CulaSunnata Sutta. Thanks for watching.